A Night in the Pocono Mountains. By J.C. Menapace. November 26, 2018. Driving northward in Pennsylvania's Pocono Mountains, I watched a wood rat cross the roadway. Tired, I wanted to find a motel before nightfall. I saw a billboard that advertised for Lottie LaRue's Roost, rooms, $7 a night. I hit the brakes, swung a U-turn, and pulled into the Roost's full parking lot. I'd surmised, must be tourists. This part of the state is vacation land. I'd climbed out of my car. On my way to the place's office I looked into some of the parked cars. I'd been wrong. These weren't tourists. These cars belonged to construction workers, as indicated by their muddy work boots, dirty clothes, and lunch buckets. As I walked to the Roost's front door I admired the rhododendron blooming around the perimeter of the green lawn with wide swatches of brilliant yellow daffodils. The Roost was a 4-story white clapboard building with dusty Venetian blinds over the windows. I peeked between their slits. It looked dark inside. A quiet place, deer flies buzzed on the screen door. I pushed it open, went in. The lobby smelled musty. It looked as it must have when built sometime during the 1930s. Now, in 1969, everything was old and worn. The linoleum floor covering sported a thatch design, partly torn away in places and revealing unpainted floorboards. The papered walls displayed a peeling floral pattern. I went over to the registration desk, painted silver and gold. Alongside it an upholstered easy chair and matching mauve-colored sofa had pictures of sailing ships with tall mainmasts and flying jib sails that gave these furnishings appeal. A few live but scrawny chickens walked around pecking at the floor in a well-lighted adjoining room. I set down my suitcase. I rang the service bell. While waiting for a clerk, I counted 13 dusty pigeonholes at present empty of any mail. Alongside one hung a glistening silver room key. The other 12 apparently were for rooms already occupied. Outdated copies of Reader's Digest lay scattered across the countertop. I rang the service bell a second time. A tiny old woman stood up from where she'd been on her hands and knees on the floor behind the registration desk. She had hands like claws. She wore a wrinkled dress that fit her in no place but the hump on her back. She held up a mouse trap with a dead mouse. "Mice," she said, "I hate these little suckers. I'm looking for a room for the night," I told her. "So happens I have one left." She winked at me. "Who's with you?" "I'm alone. I'm a traveling salesman." "You tired?" "Yes, I'm tired," I replied firmly. "Just one night please." I was given room number 2, on the second floor. Ambling on ahead of me, this same old woman accompanied me up the stairway. As we walked down the second floor corridor I touched a forefinger to the wallpaper. Its dry bubbles crumbled. Farther onward along the hallway I heard excited giggling, "Hee hee hee." "Ah yes. Yes. Tee hee hee." I asked, "What's going on?" The hump went up on her back like a startled cat's. She threw a forefinger up to her lips. She hissed, "They won't be a bother. We get 'em in here from everywhere." When she bent down to find the keyhole I noticed we were standing in front of the door to room number 4, which I quickly pointed up to her. No, she explained. "This be room number 2. Years back I'd planned on changing the number on this door but ain't never gotten around to it. Here you go, room number 2. She flung open the door. She entered on ahead of me. She switched on a table lamp. What a wonderfully inviting room. Its entire surroundings had the cozy, golden glow of dying sunlight. I liked it. She told me, "Showers is on down the hallway. Night night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite." She hobbled out through the open doorway. She closed the door gently after her. I saw a medicine cabinet with a tarnished mirror that rose above the basin in the sink. The faucets were real brass. Off to the right of the sink was a door. I'd assumed it must be to a closet. I opened it, pulled a drawstring, and lit a ceiling lamp. I saw shelf after shelf of clean terry cloth towels stacked on brass trays that rotated Lazy Susan style. There also was, as I discovered to my amazement, a brass douche bowl with a hose with a sprayer attachment. Once again, the same kind of giggling as I'd heard previously started yet louder, he he he. Oh 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 you hunk you, now coming through the wall in back of the headboard on my bed. On and on, this giggling increased in volume until it sounded as if there must be a wild party going on in the room next door. I flipped myself onto my back on my bed. I kept hearing the bathroom door opening and then closing. Then any one of the doors to the other guest rooms on the second floor. Dang busy place, I told myself. I got off the bed. I stripped down to my underwear. Once again, I plopped down onto my back on my bed. As I lay there smoking cigarettes, I listened to the giggling noises growing higher and higher in pitch, and then dying off into what almost sounded like deep sighs of relief. I tried falling asleep. But the party ongoing next door had grown wilder. Couples having a rip-roaring good time, as I was quick to make out. At one point some number of them traipsed off to the bathroom at the end of the hallway. I heard water running and also what sounded like bare feet splashing in it. I also heard subdued voices muttering things I could not make out with any degree of clarity, penetrated by an occasional, yes. Yes. Again. Do it. Soon afterwards came the noises of footsteps padding down the hallway, followed by bedroom doors opening and then closing and the tumblers in door locks clicking as latches fell closed. I'd begun to suspect that Lottie LaRue's roost must be something more than a motel. I soon fell asleep. When I awoke the next morning I heard doors banging outside in the hallway. Men were talking loudly. I felt sure I'd also heard what sounded like the chatter of womenfolk. I dressed quickly. Then I went into the hallway. "Morning, young fella," an old maid in hair curlers and a nightrobe greeted me, smiling a welcoming smile of cordiality. "Sleep well last night?" "We always do. This mountain air sure works wonders." Then she disappeared into room number 1. The bathroom door opened with a swooshing noise as a burly gentleman with a thick red beard barged out from behind it. He was so huge and the towel wrapped around him so wide that it reminded me of a beach blanket. "You work construction?" he asked me pointedly. "No," I answered flustered, "I'm a traveling salesman." "You mean you're a candy ass," he said and walked past me and straight into room number 1. Downstairs in the lobby now I saw several construction workers reading the old issues of Reader's Digest magazine. I paid. Then I left. Far down the road, I stopped at a tavern to ask for directions. I went in and took a seat on a stool at the beverage bar. The shelf in front of the wall mirror had a single bottle of whiskey, another of gin and another of vodka. Off to my right was a doorway with a drape of glass beads hanging down in front of it. Twangy guitar music played from somewhere in back of it. I called out, "Anybody home?" A man's voice replied, "I'm busy practicing." "What is it you want?" I said, "Directions." "How do I get from here to Binghamton, New York?" "Take Interstate 81 north. Follow the road signs." I said, "Got it? Thanks. By the way, that place back up the road, the Roost, what's the story on it?" He told me, "Place where folks come," he burst out in laughter, adding, "and then go."